Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Leadership Matters, Informing Leaders and Inspiring Solutions. I am your lead host today, Dr. Loretta Howard, with my wonderful co-host, Dr. Cheryl White and Dr. Andre Howard, which we like to call Dr. Dre. Today, we are continuing our show for this month. Our theme is on effective governance. And today, our focus is community engagement and advocacy. And joining us is a very special friend and someone who we are really glad to have on the show, Ms. Martha Collins. She is a nonprofit policy and advocacy leader. She builds coalitions, develops leaders, delivers legislative results. She is a young woman who has a lot going on and such an advocate for individuals and working with nonprofits. So Martha, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for having me. Hello,
We are
everybody.
glad to have you here. All right, so we like to start our show off with audience questions, and we're going to have two of them, but I'm going to start off and ask Dr. Cheryl, Dr. Dre, and Martha if you'll answer this question in that order. So here we go from the audience, and audience, keep sending us those questions. We love them. What role do partnerships or collaborations play in your approach to advocacy? We'll start off with you, Dr. Cheryl.
Okay, well, I think that there definitely is strength very often in numbers and in unity. So having partnerships and partners you can trust, who you share interests with and concerns with, finding that common ground to move forward. And I think it plays a significant part in increasing our advocacy efforts.
Dr. Dre?
Again, ditto to what Dr. Cheryl has stated. And again, another excellent question from the audience. You know, this is one of my pet peeves in terms of more collaboration. We have so little of it across the country, and I love when organizations come and they collaborate. But I think really when you have things such as being able to share scarce resources, I think that adds to the value and the approach that makes it very powerful. The reach that can be much more broader and powerful. It gives you much more credibility when you do it in partnerships. And just again, just being able to be strategic, right, and accomplish a whole lot. So someone's strengths and weaknesses, they certainly can complement each other and really work well as you think about this particular question. But I think the most successful ones tend to have, again, clear agreements about goals, decision-making processes, and understand that this is just not about me or our organization. This is about us.
Yeah.
And when you think about that frame, it becomes much more powerful.
All right, thank you. And Martha?
Oh, wow. So partnership and collaborations, my approach is really the heart of the work that I do. I'm flattered to be invited to come here today and at the top of the show saying, what I've done, but really in all honesty, collaboration is really been the key behind the work that I've been a part of. And there's really a way to amplify an issue, a voice, an issue, a concern. It gives legitimacy. And so that's why whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm a part of, I want it to be a collaboration. I sing in my local church choir, and you don't want to hear me sing by myself. You want to hear me sing with others. That's going to be music to your ears. And I just think, again, it brings it from just being a Martha issue to a community issue. And it's just really the heart of the work.
Thank you so much. I agree with everything all of you have said, especially that sharing the resources. It helps to build each other's strengths, that you have the sustainability approach as well, and that strategic partnerships. And I can say that one of the things, just knowing Martha from personal experience, how she has helped the organization that I'm associated with. She brought in people for us to collaborate with, to help us with sustainability and to reach even a larger population that we serve. So it's been wonderful to have those collaborations, and it's really helped us a lot. It has. So with that, Martha, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your leadership journey.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, first and foremost, from the choir reference, you probably guessed it. I'm a believer. And I'm a
Yeah.
mother of two boys. I have two sons, Sean and Seth. I'm an advocate. I find myself uh, doing stuff. A girlfriend of mine is like, "No more free stuff. You gotta get paid for this work you're doing." But it's like I'm passionate. I'm passionate about a number of things. So I will say it. Proudly, I'm an advocate. Over the last 2 decades, I've become a political engagement trainer and facilitator, mentor. Really, really interested in helping any and everyone, 8 to 80, as my granny used to say, but specifically women, because women were the ones that politicized me and influenced me, and that I watched as a young woman. And so I find myself, being gravitated or pulled to help more women in their commitment around advocacy. And so, again, I've had this last 20 years, oh my God, say it out loud, to be able to do that. And around some amazing issues that I had lived experience, or things I learned so much about, and helping them dive into further research and making those collaborations, right? Identifying, folks they need to connect with. So my journey, I've learned that leadership isn't about a title or position. It's really about rolling up your sleeves and getting in there and doing the work, not alone, right? Because you want to have a great impact. But and then oftentimes you're not alone. I think I've realized that it feels like it, especially when you're in the middle of it, that no one is listening or understand, and you'll be amazed. Just a general conversation. Or my mom would jokingly say, "You're going to go to a grocery store and come out with 3 new friends by the time you leave that grocery store," and she was absolutely right. And I would have 3 different, issues or resources, all of that by the time I left that store, and I just build on it. So my leadership journey is just honestly just me, Martha, being Martha, and being a resource, a help to someone or groups, organization, advocacy groups. It's been amazing.
Thank you. All right. I'm turning it over to Dr. Cheryl.
Yeah, so I know that Dr. Loretta shared a time when you have made a positive impact on her life and the organization that she works with. Is there another story you might be able to share with us when your advocacy work has directly impacted someone's life?
Wow. Immediately, I think of Miss Anita R. Garrett. Last year in 24, I was in the state capitol. I was attending Black Lobby Day, and there were a number of different uh, um, in-service kind of sessions, trainings people could go to and learn about different issues, hunger and food insecurity, housing or affordable housing issues, public education. Well, Ms. Garrett had gone to the food insecurity session, and someone had told her about me and that I was at the advocacy day at the Capitol, and she found me. And she came up to me and she's like, "Are you Martha Collins?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm Anita R. Garrett, and you changed my life." And I was like, "Whoa." I never met this woman a day in my life. Huh? What are you talking about? Miss Anita is a grandmother, proud grandmother of 5 grandchildren, and they were experiencing food insecurity. She, due to circumstances, had custody of her grandkids and found herself, you know, trying to navigate through the systems, the 211s and other resources, trying to find food to feed these babies on her fixed income. So she was going to multiple different food pantries, and she just was like, I know I'm not the only person going through this. This is insane, crazy. I got to do something. And then started talking to other women, dads, grandparents of her age, and they were all experiencing the same thing. So she was like starting a chain, telling people about different pantries and days they were open and just giving resources. And someone told her about Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. I used to work there as the director of advocacy and outreach. And I started a program there called Food Leaders Lab. And she had someone recommended that she apply and do the program. She did. And she said, I, initially had started just to tell my story, to try to get some additional food stamps, I just wanted to feed my grandbabies. But once she learned more about the system and how being an activist and an advocate on this issue could help people, she was like, I was all in. By the time I got done talking to Miss Anita, she had me in tears because you could just feel it. You could just, and I started this program, being honest and frank. It's part of my work plan. You got to identify a project you're going to work on. I didn't know I was going to have this impact on this woman and the rippling effect. She had told everybody and their mama, and she had just come back from Washington, D.C. She had gone to the White House and had spoke at this hunger conference that they hadn't held in 50 years. Wow. And sitting president at the time, Joe Biden, told her story. And by the end of the time talking with her, I was in tears. I just can't, that year I just had lost my own mother. I experienced food insecurity in the pantries and everything when we moved up here from Chicago in the Milwaukee area. And so it was so much of my mother I saw in this woman and my grandmother, again, women that influenced me, that I will never forget Miss Anita. And she is still going on today. I got a text message from her where she is collecting petition signatures from Milwaukee Public School parents, guardians, and the like, others, trying to do healthy school lunches. And so, she's like, I was only going to go through this program and learn what I learned and go about my business. But she's like, I'm committed. I'm here now. I'm involved in addressing hunger and food insecurity.
That's wonderful. That's not only a powerful story of impact, but a powerful story of compassion at its essence. Because I think of compassion at its essence is reducing suffering and increasing joy. And that is really what, through your efforts, it's just a rippling effect of reducing such suffering at such a core, and really, and doing so, increasing joy as well. So thank you so much for your work, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Definitely. Dr. Dre.
All right. And before I break, I know I want to throw the next question out there. Thanks again for sharing that, Martha. Just again, wonderful leader. Thank you for being part of the show. Quickly, in terms of defining and approaching community engagement, what does community mean to you, and how do you define effective community engagement?
Well, community is such a big word. I mean, it's not just a group of people, living in the same place, the same time type of thing, right? I talked about my choir. So that's a group of, faith-based group or interest group. I was a part of a community or neighborhood in Chicago, and we relocated to Milwaukee. So community has a lot of different meanings. It's, basically a collective body or group of individuals that belonging, right, makes a community. I'm in a community in my day job in the state capitol. And so effective community engagement, though, it's two-way. It's a relationship. I could be screaming to the top of my head at Feeding America around hunger and food insecurity, but I knew that I had to work with my colleagues, pull my colleagues in, and get this training program up and going, directly impacted folks, hear their stories to say how, to find out ways of how we were going to address, our mission was to solve hunger. So it's this two-way relationship. You got to communicate. You got to be an active listener. You can't just listen to just hurry up to know when to speak, right? And and taking note, because again, you want your work to be impactful. So, and that's taking that community and really putting them in, having them engaged in it, and it, it's very simple, almost sounding, but it's such a struggle at times, especially within organizations, of doing that. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Wonderful definition. So.
And definitely, and the story you told about Miss Anita, that was her name. Man, what a powerful story, just to how you've impacted people. And that's what advocacy should be for all of us. She's become an advocate. So it does have that domino or trickle effect. That's wonderful. Okay, we are about to take a short break, and when we return, we will address our second audience question, which is how do you navigate disagreements or conflicting interests within a community? Now that you've shared your definition of community, how do you deal with those conflicts? So, we will be back for more Leadership Matters for those of soon. So, again, we are Leadership Matters, informing leaders and inspiring solutions. All right, thank you. And we are back on Leadership Matters. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Dr. Loretta Howard, the lead host today, along with my colleagues, Dr. Cheryl White and Dr. Andre Howard, and our very special guest, Ms. Martha Collins, who is educating us on community engagement and advocacy. So as we talked about the question that we want to address, our second audience question, which is how do you navigate disagreements or conflicting interests within a community? Going to start with you, Dr. Dre, Dr. Cheryl, and then turn it over to you, Martha. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Dre.
Yeah. Um, I think again, having disagreements and conflicts are a natural part of the process. I think that the issue comes in we don't know how to communicate and hear the other side and listen. And I think Martha brought that up very beautifully in terms of just being able to listen as you think about this important work. But, I think certainly starting with, shared values, common ground, even when we disagree on solutions, there's often things we can agree upon. So let's start with the things we can agree upon, the commonalities as a foundation and kind of build from there. I think that's an important part of that process. I also, think about, setting the rules and agreements up front. So we know how we will deal with those disconnecting points or those times we don't always agree. We've got a set of rules that we can refer to and kind of use to kind of engage each other and continue to work forward. And understand it's always good to hear the other side as part of that
Yeah.
process. That helps us build relationships, even as we go through the conflict and disconnecting point. So I would just add that
Mhm.
to it.
Mhm.
And Dr. Sherrill?
Yeah, and I will really echo and agree with everything Dr. Dre said, and loved the starting with the listening. I think that's a powerful part of, and actually, I'll back up and say starting also with those, some might call them ground rules or learning community behaviors, really kind of setting a foundation for people to be able to emotionally self-regulate and prepare themselves to listen to views that may be different than their own, needs that may be different than their own. I love the HEAT model, which starts with hear them out, which again
Mm.
is that listening. And then the E is for empathize. You know, can we express concern and care? You're seeing things from others' perspective. And the A in here is ask questions. We want to ask questions to make sure we understand those who we are engaged with. And can I understand you? Can I feel you? Can I figure out what's most important to you so we can figure out the best way to help? So we're listening and double clicking at a deeper level with regards to asking questions to truly seek understanding. And then we want to take responsibility to really help um, people find where Dr. Dre went, and that's finding that common ground, brainstorming some possible win-win solutions. Maybe we can't come up with win-win solutions. Can we at least come up with some give and take solutions as we support people in being able to move forward in their journey?
Great, thank you. I love that acronym. You guys know I love acronyms. Thank you for another new one. Okay, Martha, how would you
I thought it
answer
was
that
only me. I
question?
was jotting down the acronyms too. It was
Yeah.
really good. Ditto to everything that's been said. I guess, but when you asked the question, what came to mind was the old saying, you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I think addressing something like this with disagreements, in community setting conflict is the win-win out of it is if you were proactive versus reactive. It really shows, because it's inevitable, right? Like it's been identified and mentioned. And so if you've got those things and how to navigate the ground rules and such on the onset you're going to be more successful towards the end because you can't build anything if you don't have any trust and you can't grow again if you're not two-way conversation, two-way relationship. And I just want to also make mention of the importance of transparency. I think, it's such a rumor mill and the type of work I'm in and, the closed doors and then the minds start to wonder and the assumptions. I think that just being fair, being transparent also and everything and how you move when you're in these coalitions, you'll see so much success.
Great, thank you. I agree with everything that I have heard. I really do. I don't really have anything to add other than I'm totally in agreement that you need to hear every voice, just what you all said. Everyone wants to know that their voices need to be heard. I just like to hear one voice at a time. For me, the one thing is when people sometimes they're discussing and they're so passionate about how they feel and everybody's talking at once, you really can't hear anyone. I do like that one voice at a time. That goes into the setting ground rules that you talked about. So I absolutely agree with it. And we need to listen. We just need to listen and hear the other person out. I think about Dr. Dre sometimes. He likes the conflict. He likes that. He said there needs to always be a little rub because everybody's not going to be in agreement. But once you have that conflict out there and you get to hear, and then you can learn and understand from the other perspective.
Yep.
Stephen Covey had one of the habits from the 7 habits of highly effective people was seek first to understand and then be understood. So I need to listen to somebody and try to understand their point first. So I agree with everything that I've heard. Thank you all so much. And audience, please keep sending us those great questions. Hey, gonna turn it over to Dr. Sher.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Loretta. So, Ms. Martha, having worked with communities, thought would be how do you build trust with community members, particularly or especially with those who may feel overlooked or perhaps skeptical?
Mhm. Very, very good question, and timely question for us right now. I would definitely say showing up consistently and often. I think in communities, especially communities of color, there is this disconnect or lack of trust of government and politics. And they are same old same, and nothing's gonna change. I'm not my issues, my concern, my life, what I'm going through, my story is not of importance. And then an election happens and everybody comes and everybody is you get mail, you get calls, you get text messages, emails. So now you're important. And then they go away. And you could do that on an electoral issue or electoral campaign or issue based. It doesn't have to be politics or political. But the point is that folks aren't showing up consistently and often. Like, right? Like you're not building a relationship. It's very transactional. And so that's a huge first step when you're trying to, stop the skeptical type of thing and folks feeling overlooked. We talked about some of those conflicts before because you hadn't acknowledged the harm that's already been in a community. You know, Nothing's new under the sun. And so some of these issues and things have been going on for decades. As I mentioned in Miss Anita's story, White House hadn't had a convening in 50 years, so hunger is nothing new. And she could have taken the opposite end of the spectrum instead of jumping in full throttle and learning and soaking up hunger and food insecurity. She could have been very jaded and hurt and bitter and mad and said nothing's going to change because our highest form of government, body institution hasn't even had a convening in 5 decades. And so, acknowledging the harm that's there sometimes, and that's what the story she was sharing with me that the president first apologized. This hasn't been a priority in the administration in a while. I mentioned around being transparent, that follow through. I think we're all bad at that one. Like, right? Like, not say I'm gonna call you and don't call. I'm gonna follow up. We're gonna get coffee. So again, just being real intentional, and it happens. Acknowledging it, apologize, and schedule the coffee. Schedule a meet. Actually follow through with it. It's just some basic ways to address that.
Love that. I love the consistency. I love the building relationships, the demonstrating the care with regards to that trust that I have your best interest at heart, and the follow through with regards to doing what we say we're going to do so that there's some credibility. Thank you.
Excellent. Ms. Martha, as we continue to think about this topic of community engagement, can you walk us through a project or initiative that you are especially proud of? I mean, you've given some examples already, but could you walk us through maybe one that you're really especially proud of, and were you so proud of that particular initiative?
Well, obviously, I already talked your ear off enough online and off about Food Leaders Lab. That was just, I think, a full circle because it was a combination of so many different other leadership programs and being one of the more recent ones where people got paid to actually learn and implement and do this work. I'm going to choose another one. And I'm going to say 9 to 5. We were working on something called Ban the Box Initiative. And it was the removing of, you ever been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor type of question on applications. And very similar to Food Leaders Lab, taking folks with lived experience, sharing their stories to decision makers, lawmakers, but in a way that highlighted the barriers that they were experiencing, right? Like you've got them caught in this whirlwind. I'm unable to meet my basic needs. I'm unable to get housing, go back to school, get a job, and once it was the way we set these meetings up and shared the information on the one pagers and just being innovative around that, you could literally see the light bulb go off in folks over their heads right away of like, oh, well, how are they supposed to do these things? And I know Black and brown folks are incarcerated at higher numbers, but someone has one family member, friend, neighbor, former coworker that may have a criminal background, a record, if not themselves. And so they could honestly relate whether they wanted to admit it or not. And so I was very, very proud because that's one of those. I mean, hunger and food, is something that, as the Miss Anita story, she was very emotional about and a little bit embarrassed about. That one is very embarrassing, especially depending on the nature of the charges and things of that nature. So women, 9 to 5, Wisconsin, where I was the state director, is a national association of working women. And women, very much so, that had former records were just didn't want to come forward. So starting building that confidence, I mean, the educational piece of teaching them the process was one spot, but just even them and checking in with them and making sure they were okay. And their mamas, their daughters, so like being able to tell their story and feel comfortable about it. We had to start from there. And I was just like so excited. We were able to get that question removed on a local municipality level, city and county, like 10, 12 years ago. And now running into people that it affected them. It changed. It was for the better. It was positive impact. So yeah.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much. Very powerful.
Thank you. Okay, we're about to go and take another short break, but when we return this time, we'll look at some questions that talk about measuring and reflecting on impact for you, Martha. So when we return, the top question will be, how do you measure the impact or success of your advocacy efforts? With that said, we'll be right back with Leadership Matters, Informing Leaders and Inspiring Solutions. Okay, and we are back with Martha Collins, our engagement and advocacy expert who is here talking with us today. And we are so grateful to have her with Dr. Dre, Dr. Cheryl, and I am your lead co-host today, Dr. Loretta Howard. Before we went on break, there was a question that I have for you, Miss Martha. So how do you actually measure the impact or success of your advocacy efforts?
Wow. Usually, I just keep my head down and keep doing the work. And then before you know it, a grant report is due. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Okay, I used to do that. But now I'm very much uh, intentional in trying to collect those stories. I mean, oh
Okay.
God, y'all gonna get sick of Miss Anita hearing Miss Anita.
No.
But
Mm-mm.
you know, that story, you can't even listen, I could never tell it the way she did it. But so those narratives, those narratives and numbers, coming from community foundation background as well, they want to know the numbers and the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be amazed of how powerful stories could be. I remember during COVID, we didn't have a whole lot of numbers. We were locked down. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you can't be like millions or thousands of people were served or impacted because they'd be like, you lying.
Right.
Right. But being able to share, I mean, just a handful, a few stories could show the potential and the work that can continue to be done and really be a defining moment if you continue to get that grant, get more money or whatever. So yes, numbers and narrative. Of course, are you building a coalition? A coalition of X number now has become, Z number. The shift of the public narrative. I remember with the Fight for 15, I will never forget Fight for 15 in the union, because see, they used to drop the union part off, and that was important too. And there is a union for service workers, fast food workers today in our area in Milwaukee, called MASH, that came out of the Fight for 15 campaign. And we were like the fifth city at the time to really scream that from the top of our lungs, right? Fight for 15. And at the time, that was a presidential year, and the debate was coming here at the university, and right on the campus at University of Wisconsin, the Milwaukee campus. And they changed the debate narrative, the first question to, if elected, would you raise minimum wage? Because we were out there, of course, doing our advocacy thing and marching and protesting. Some folks taking over freeways, right? But we shift the public narrative or public awareness on that thing. And again, the lived experience. And, what partners now that you have that just like, whoa, they are part of our coalition, or, they're seeking to work with us or continue to work with us. For example, with 9 to 5, we really worked on like paid family medical leave, because, in this country, you could take FMLA, but it's an unpaid time off. And so we were big advocates, being a working women's association, for family medical leave insurance, pretty much. And yeah, grassroots organizations, women and working families, and middle and lower class folks will want this, but not the business world. And so when 9 to 5 had brought in the partners like Main Street Alliance and some of these corporations in the state of Wisconsin, folks started to say, okay, wait a minute, they getting some traction, some motion around this thing. So just who you're able to bring in and all of that is how you can measure that impact.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Well,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
yes, so many needs and so many opportunities for collaboration and helping to ensure needs throughout society are heard and met.
Right.
I think with that can come also maybe the opportunity or the threat, one might say, of burnout. And you think about that. What advice do you give for helping to prevent burnout and really sustaining long-term engagement?
Mm-hmm. Well, first and foremost is to recognize it, right? With anything, right? So people may or may not like it with substance abuse. You gotta acknowledge I got a problem. You gotta acknowledge I am burning both ends of the candlestick here. I'm not resting. I'm not. I'm everyone else, and not me. Rest is a form of resistance, especially right now. in this country, and a number of folks, women, specifically women of color or Black women, are saying that they're tired and they need to take this rest, and that is a form of resistance. And so, again, recognizing it and being mindful of what makes you happy outside of work. You gotta have a good work and life balance. I joke, I've got two adult sons now, and I said, I'm gonna tell you one thing, that this generation after me getting it right. They are absolutely getting it right as far as that work-life balance, and recognize, first and foremost, recognizing it, and setting it and making it a priority is key to handling it. And then, just pacing yourself. You can't do everything by yourself. What does this look like? Do I need to delegate things? Do I need to, I love the step up, step back. I've been leading and running every coalition meeting that we've had for the last 7 months. I know there's others that's a part of the team that I could ask, or other organizations that I could say, hey, would you all host or lead this time? So definitely pacing yourself, delegating, and because that also can be back to the whole contentious within a coalition. They always running it. Now it's their agenda, it's their show. So it kind of shows, which you might just be thinking, I'm taking care of myself, I'm just tired. But it actually helps not only you, but everyone involved in the movement. So yeah, I'll stop there. I think that's like two key things. But there's so many more that you can do as it relates to handling burnout and making sure that you keep that long-term engagement with your community partners.
Wonderful. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Burnout is real. Martha, let's turn to trends, misconception, and the future. Here's a question I have for you around trends. The rise of the digital platform and social media. How has that changed the way we engage with community as you think about that? Because it continues to grow. Is it a help or is it a hinder as you think about the rise of the digital platform and social media piece?
You know what? I think it's almost like both, because you got so much way to do misinformation with digital in real time, so fast, so quick. People think digital is so new also. We've always had access to Zooms and programs as such. I think they become more prevalent because of the pandemic. And so that's the plus side of it, because the work didn't stop. You were able to still build relationships and so forth, whether it was virtually, right? But the negative is like, a lie can get out there so much faster than the old telephone game, right? And so, but it's you can't do it. You can't do this work without it now. I'm looking at the work again of Miss Anita, and she is killing it with her texting and her emailing, and she's reaching people faster than she would by phone or knocking on the door. Not to say those things go away. So it's hard, it's a slippery slope, but I don't think it's either or. I definitely know it's an and. You have to do them both because of so many reasons. I've got these, what are they, Lord? Gen Zers, Yers, I don't know. You got this next generation. My kids, like, they're not answering no phone. They ain't answering the door. I go to my oldest son's house. Why you ain't answering the door? They answering the door. But they will scroll. They love some of these social media, TikTok. That's where they get their news. Our son said, "Oh man, the governor not running for governor no more." I'm like, "Boy, he been announced he not running." It just popped up on his TikTok, right? So you have to have it, because you're gonna lose a group of people on both ends of the spectrum, right? You're gonna lose your baby boomers if you still don't knock, and you're gonna lose this new generation. But it's so scary with deep fakes, they call them, whatever, and just the misinformation piece of it. And so I would love to see some work around that, to like where people have to, brand that this is authentic, this is real, so they can bust up some of that misinformation that's going around.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you.
Almost maybe staying with Mrs., I'm wondering, are there misconceptions about advocacy work that you wish more people understood?
Oh yeah. Definitely the fact that you can't do it. I love to hear in my nonprofit advocacy work, I love to tell folks, yeah, you can. They think they can't do, well, our tax exemption, our status, we cannot do it. Actually, you're obligated to do it. You're the issue expert. You're just building awareness. You're not lobbying. You're not, there's a difference of advocacy lobbying. You're advocating. This is what you do. This is your mission. I worked for an organization whose mission was to solve hunger. How are you going to do that? Not with just an emergency box or bag of food. You've got to talk to policymakers. And so, yeah.
Martha, I'm going to stop you and ask you to double click on both of those so that people can hear what is the difference between advocacy and lobbying.
Okay, so advocacy is like you're an activist, an informed agent for a particular issue or concern. Miss Anita is an advocate or providing advocacy around hunger and food insecurity. Lobbying, you are trying to push a policy, an agenda. People have heard the term lobbyists. People get paid to go and talk to these elected officials and say, hey, I need you to vote for or against, oppose, for this particular bill. You're just going and building awareness around the issue versus you're going and saying, vote yes, no for this particular thing. Two different things. And in all honesty, at nonprofits, as long as you're not, going for a particular party, elected official, particular person putting money in, which is your time, into the you can do that too. You can go as an advocate and say, I need you to vote against this because this is going to hurt or not or harm our particular issue. So many hours out of the year, a certain tax status will allow you to do that. So even with that, and it's a lot of different nuances, and people, I think, since they are confused about it, they just shut down and don't do it at all. But as a nonprofit, I believe it's your obligation to do it.
So is there a reference, either yourself or others, and Dr. Loretta might go there, but just thinking, is there a reference where people can go and learn what you just said, the nuances between?
Absolutely. Myself, I've done YouTube videos on it. I would love to TED Talk, if you're listening, do a TED Talk on it, but I've had friends that have done TED Talks. Or I love like Boulder or Alliance for Justice. They have amazing resources on their websites. They do webinars that's free that inform people on how to do that. That's within an organization or out.
Great, thank you.
And I know we're coming up to a break, but quickly, Martha, be honest with us this afternoon. Not that you haven't been, but are you hopeful, yay or nay, as you look ahead into the future of community engagement and advocacy? Are you still hopeful for the future?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Definitely a glass half full type of girl.
Okay.
This is the best time of everything that's going on. Is, you know what? Fire is under people's tails. They want to get involved. They want to do something.
Okay.
And that's what every nonprofit wants. They want volunteers because they never have enough capacity to do the work. That's a big mission to solve hunger, right? So they could never hire enough people to do it. So you've got more people coming through Food Leader Lab. You got more people going through Banner Box. You've got more people learning about raising minimum wage or prevailing wages, unraveling some of this legislation around union working jobs, union workers. That's every association, trade, not or a union group wants that. Labor group, they want people that are interested in doing that and getting educated about it and bringing in numbers. Number and power and building capacity. So I'm very much hopeful because folks are getting affected. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, I can hear it and I can see it, Martha. So I appreciate that because that gives me hope. So thank you.
All right, great. We are going to take our final break for today, and when we return, we'll kind of switch and get some advice from Martha on advocacy and what she would tell aspiring advocates. So please rejoin us in about 90 seconds and stay tuned for the rest of Leadership Matters, informing leaders and inspiring solutions. Okay, welcome back. We are in our last segment of Leadership Matters, informing leaders and inspiring solutions. And our guest today is Martha Collins, who is an community advocate and engagement specialist in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, if you haven't heard. So we are just thrilled to have her along with my co-host, Dr. Dre and Dr. Cheryl. So as we come back for this last segment, Martha, I have a question for you. What's one small action listeners could take today to have positive impact in their own communities?
To show up on a local level for something that matters to them, right? Whether it's the local school in your area, reading to the young people there, volunteering your time at a pantry or a soup kitchen, just showing up, something local, something that's personal, passionate to you, and you'll be surprised of how that really helps. It doesn't always mean this grandstanding behind a podium. People think, oh, running for office. No, it's the everyday folks that you walk past each and every day. You don't even realize they are devoting their time to some mission-driven work, whether they're being paid for it or not. That is helping so many people, and just getting in part and being a part of that is life-changing.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe building on Dr. Loretta's question, and I love the showing up. And so if someone's wanting to get involved and they want to know, like, what's the first step and how do I know where to show up or what to do to get involved? What would you say might be the first step for them?
Well, I think picking that issue that they're passionate about is like the first step, because then you'll stick with it. You got a little skin in the game, and something is personal to you. I think what you're asking me is like um, maybe what organization within their communities or something of that nature.
Yeah, so maybe they pick an issue and now they need to find an organization you're saying that supports that issue.
Mhm.
Mhm.
My son makes fun of me because I tell him Google is your friend. You can go online and definitely try to identify associations, things that already exist, because there's no point of reinventing the wheel. So, I'm passionate about schools, specifically public schools. I may or may not have children in the school system at the time, but if you go online, there are a number of different organizations and groups that are already doing the work where you can plug in. They may have work groups, they may have a call asking people to volunteer. It may be a little tougher to walk into a school these days and say, hey, I want to, volunteer. So look, going to that school's respective website. Share this passion or idea with others. Again, back to that story of me, 3 people in a grocery store. You never know who knows who I found, and not like, oh, in the city of Milwaukee. I've literally just came back from Nigeria and met people that knew my people back here, all the way on a different continent, right? So just opening your mouth and expressing where your passion lies. Sometimes you'll be like, how did I get here? And it was all from just a simple conversation. But definitely the online research, the conversations with others. And then again, if it's something personal to you, I may have children that are in the school system. So like, of course, tapping into some networks that are already there that you didn't even realize that you could tap into.
Well, thank you.
Great. So changing direction as we kind of come to a conclusion here, Martha, we ask all of our guests to kind of share their response to the following questions. What do you hope for and what brings you joy?
What do I hope for? I hope for more people to get involved. I think the noise that we're hearing these days are just a few. It's not the majority. And the majority is very silent or very quiet. Maybe they're confused. They don't know where to start. Maybe they're fearful to get involved and to get started. And I guess my clarion call is to say, just do it, right? I know it's cliche. Don't be fearful. You've got a support system that you don't even know about. You don't have to be fearful at all. You don't have to know it all. And trust me, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but you're going to learn from them. And guess what? If you don't do anything, that's exactly what's going to happen. Nothing. No change, no nothing. And so I really am hopeful that others will get involved. And then I think the last part you said about joy.
Yeah.
My family, my sons bring me so much joy. I'm like, I remember when I was your age. Look at you. You trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up too. Binging on Netflix. Oh, give me a series. I got to rewind it 13 times because I'm doing 13 things. But I got it on. I like a binge of a Netflix or some sort of series. And then Libby. I've become addicted to Libby app. Libby is with your public library. I do audibles. I like to have books going in the background because I find myself buying them and not reading them. So someone turned me on to Libby. And so I got my library card and I'm getting on Libby, let me see if this book, if they got that book. And so that's my new little joy that I take part in.
Wonderful. I gotta get into Libby. Libby.
Oh yeah, it's the library is the bomb. They they got everything. This is not the library of your grandparents and parents. Like this is a good thing. Good thing. Go to your near library.
Oh, wow. Great. Thank you so much, Martha. As we get ready to conclude this episode, Martha, what final thoughts or tips would you like to share to our listening audience, and how could they contact you?
Yes, yesterday was National Voter Registration Day. That's all right. It just didn't happen just yesterday. You got time between now and your next election, which will be in the spring of next year. So go register to vote. Go check your registration. Make sure you're still on the roll. See what's going to be on your ballot. Here in the state of Wisconsin, you go to www.myvote.wi.gov. Again, myvote.wi.gov, but you can go online and find other websites on a national level for your respective state. Make sure you're voting, volunteer at a polling site, learn what's on the ballot, learn, if there's any kind of referendums or initiatives that's listed. And then I am on LinkedIn. Check me out, follow me, connect with me on linkedin.com/IN/Martha Collins MKE.
Thank you so much. All right, it has been another exciting episode of Leadership Matters. So I want to thank you, Martha Collins, for joining us today. We have truly learned a lot and enjoyed the engagement and the information that you've given us. And as always, my co-hosts, Dr. Dre and Dr. Cheryl gave us a new acronym, HEAT. Hear, empathize, ask questions, take responsibility. So I love it as we do these shows. We're always learning something new. So we invite people to send their questions and topics that you're interested in learning more about. Send that to Leadership Matters Questions at innovisions.org. That's Leadership Matters Questions at innovisions.org. So please join us every Wednesday on YouTube at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, or download one of our podcasts at your convenience, and you can listen to it while you're working. You can do it from Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Spotify. So until the next time on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, where we are informing leaders and inspiring solutions. Have a great week, everyone.